What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So big, fun, awesome, cool video to do today. The first challenge event in Atlanta is also wrapping up today. We have Chicago in a couple weeks, and we're on our fourth set now. So what about ban list? Should we start to talk about a ban list? Why do you think there might be a ban list? Well, in the comprehensive rules, section 2.12, banned cards. So lo and behold, it is in the comprehensive rules, which we've known for a while now. There's no banned cards yet. There's no ban list yet. There's no rules on, is it going to be banned or at 4? Or are we going to have limited, semi-limited, some things like that. So we really don't have any information yet. And I think they're waiting for the whole 2-match format, these two major tournaments, see what happens, and then moving forward we can start to get ban lists. We'll start to get more organized and structured things to come with it, but we need the big tournaments to really see what the issues are. Yes, we have pixelborn. Yes, we've had big tournaments there, but you know how card games go. This is just kind of one of those things. So again, it is in the comprehensive rules if you want to go check that out for all of the Lorcana rules, but it's not just us throwing it out there that, hey, ban lists don't exist, but what if they had one? It is them saying there will be one at some point. Like I said, we're into our fourth set now, and I think before set 5, because we will have had 2 challenge events and 4 sets, I think before set 5 we will get our first ban list. How big will it be? I don't think it's going to be that big, and let's go ahead and jump over into my expectations for it, right? So I have 5 categories here. No change is pretty obvious. That means there is no change to the card. Not yet means maybe, but right now it's not going to change. It's not going to get hit. Then we have semi. I went with ban limited semi. And the reasoning behind this, and there is no 3 of section because 3 of would be about as dumb as semi-limited in Yu-Gi-Oh, where it is, well, it's just that. It's dumb. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There's very, very, very few cards that should be in that section. Anyway, for us, semi-limited means you could play 2 copies. Again, they haven't said. There could be banned and unbanned, and that is it. But if we were to do it, this is kind of my thoughts. So semi-limited is cards, we're going to hit consistency hits. So this is where they go. You cut it from 4 to 2, that's a consistency hit. You cut it from 4 to 3, and it's like, it just feels like it doesn't do anything. So you cut it to 2, and that actually feels impactful. Limited, so you only get 1 copy of it. It's OP, overpowered, but kind of needed for the balance of the game. So, you know, you're going to see a couple cards on this video end up in this category where they're ban worthy, but they're also kind of needed to keep other things in check. So for that reason, they'll get limited. And then there's just the cards that outright banned, done with them, over. So we're going to go ahead and go through, I think I have like 40 cards to talk about. And I'll try to explain the choices and the why on all of them as we go along. So Rapunzel, gifted with healing. I actually have this as our semi-limited first hit. First hit because it's the first card in the video. But anyway, so healing 3, drawing 3. That is very, very strong. I don't think this is much of a hit at all. A lot of decks only play 2 copies. Steel Song, you might see 3. Mufasa, you may see up to 4, which is probably the only deck that truly maxes her out. I don't think this is a huge hit, but I think especially in the future of the game, the healing 3 to draw 3 is just very, very strong. In addition, you have the Madrigal who could heal and draw 1, so it's not like you're necessarily just outright losing her. I don't think she's ban worthy, and again, if it's banned or not banned, no hit whatsoever to Rapunzel. I just think this is one of those consistency hits that they could go after. Elsa, Spirit of Winter. I don't think this card sees enough play and is impactful enough in this meta. She used to have her time. Outside of Blurple, though, there might not be any competitive decks playing her. I don't think that she really warrants a hit at all. Friends on the other side. Where should this one go? Is it OP? It can be, certainly, especially with Ursula, but I'm going to put it in that consistency hit spot. It's draw 2 cards. That's really, really strong, obviously. It's a song. You can sing it and not lose your ink. So it has so many good things going for it. Again, I don't think it's a card that is inherently overpowered to where it needs to be out of the game. This isn't early Yu-Gi-Oh! This isn't Pot of Greed. I mean, they may have similarities, but let's be honest. Lorcana is advancing much faster than old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Did, at least in my opinion, and I think that Friends deserves a spot in this game. I don't think that it is worth hitting anything more than to 2. Again, this is all speculation, so just keep all that in mind. Flynn Rider. I'm going to put Flynn and Merfolk together because they kind of go hand in hand. Those low questers, discard to challenge them. There's no hit. There's no reason to. If you want these cards hit, I'm sorry, but it's just not going to happen. They are not strong enough to be hit. There's a lot of outs to it. They can be annoying, but they're not hit worthy. And again, I'm sorry if you feel that they are, because some people are going to find, nobody ever agrees on a ban list perfectly ever. So I've come to accept that. But these are cards that just should not get hit probably ever. Sudden Chill, discard. Discard is so annoying. It really, really is. And I know it sounds like one of those consistency cards, but I'm going to put it in the not yet category. And maybe never. This card is very strong, especially kind of like Friends when Ursula Deceiver Vol sings it and hits 2 cards. But I don't think that it is worth hitting, especially right now. I think if we do the other hits on this list, I think Sudden Chill can stay where it is at 4. Maleficent Monstrous Dragon, kind of like Elsa. It had its time in the meta. It still sees some play in some decks, but it's not at that point where it's going to get hit. It's a 9 cost. It sees play mostly in Ruby Sapphire if they play it, but they have so many other good tools too. I just don't see this card being even worth hitting. Maui Hero to All. How many times do you get to like Ursula, Bare Necessities, any of these other cards, look at your opponent's hand, Diablo, and you see a Maui, and instantly it has to just completely change how you play the game. A 6/5 rush character that's inkable is so strong. I think this card absolutely going to 2 makes sense. There's so many good removal. There's so much good cards in Ruby. We're only going to get more moving forward. If this card doesn't get hit, it very well could be a 4 of forever. It is that good. And for that reason, I do think Maui to 2 makes sense. Hades, our first Sapphire card, I believe. Yep, first Sapphire. We also have not hit Steel yet. Our first Sapphire card. I don't think it's going to get any changes. Kind of like Elsa, it just kind of found its way out of deck lists. Like Sapphire Steel doesn't really play it. Sapphire Ruby doesn't really play it. Giving your opponent that Inkwell card when you could be playing something like a Medusa, a Scar, a Be Prepared, something like that, or coming down with like your heavy steel cards. Like, I just don't see any world that Hades gets hit. We're going to go on a bit of a run here, and we're going to put Tamatoa also in the no change. 5/8 gets your items back and just can kind of create that loop. Really, really strong, right? But at the same time, I don't think that it is worth actually hitting. I think that maybe in the future, but even then, really unlikely. These no change yet just kind of assume that most likely aren't ever going to get hit, but obviously there's certain strong ones, your Elsa, your Monstrous Dragon, things like that, and you're going to have to keep an eye on them. But moving on forward, we have Fishbone Quill. Like I said, we're going on a little Sapphire run here. Fishbone Quill, where do we think we go with this one? They just got the statue, so it could maybe make sense to hit it. I'm, however, going to put it in the not yet category because you can probably guess which card we are going to go after in Sapphire. And I think if we hit Hiram and Quill, we'll get to Hiram right after this. I'll jump it up in line. If we get to Hiram and Quill and hit both of them, I think Sapphire just loses everything it has going for it, and I don't think we can do that, especially not yet. So Quill can't get hit right now. Maybe in the future, but definitely not right now. Hiram, obviously we're going to ban it, right? Was it Quantum saying just ban Hiram and ban Bucky. Maybe it wasn't Quantum. It was somebody, one of the bigger names and like higher Grandmaster players saying hit those 2 cards because one means unlimited cards and one means no cards. So he just basically said ban these 2 and the format is good. I don't necessarily disagree. However, I think banning Hiram, again, really just destroys what Sapphire is capable of doing. I think if you put it to 2 and hit some of the other power cards, because so Sapphire, this hits their consistency, it hits their draw. Obviously, you know, like, oh, if you keep Hiram off board, they struggle. So hitting Hiram to 2 instantly makes them struggle more often. In addition to that, if we're hitting some of these other big threat cards such as Maui or some of the other cards that we'll get to, like, well, at the same time, then what are they ramping for? What are they drawing for? Because if you're taking away those other threats, it also makes those draws and ramps less important. I will 100% wholeheartedly agree, Bucky, go. Once we started getting these 3-cost Floodborns, Bucky became insane. Bucky is going to be one of the first cards banned. You can book it. Every single person who does a prediction is going to have Bucky in their band, and every single person who does it is going to be right. This card is gone. Like, if this card doesn't get banned, why are we getting a ban list? Do I think the game is bad? No. Do I think we need a ban list? No. Do I like set 4 so far? Honestly, I really, really do. I think it's not quite as open as set 3 was. I think there's realistically 3 decks at the very top, being red, blue, emerald, steel discard, and then also purple, green discard. You could say Tempo is up there too, but I think Tempo is kind of in that next group of like 7, like 4 through 7, like your Ruby Amethyst, your Sapphire Steel, your Steel Song, your Tempo, your Mufasa, your Ruby Songs, your Blurples. I think all those decks are in a very tight group next to it. You can check out our tier list for that too, by the way. But I think those 3 decks are just clearly at the top, and then there's a bunch of decks that still can see success below them, and to me that's a pretty healthy format. Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. Hitting the board, dealing 1 across it. When you take something out, dealing 2. I think she's no change. I don't really see a hit or scenario where this card gets banned. And obviously future cards can change that, but especially for right now, I really just don't see it. Mufasa, kind of same thing. Like Mufasa, a lot of people have actually said it, like when you play Mufasa Roulette and a Mufasa deck, it feels like Mufasa is one of the worst cards in the deck. You just play it because it gets you to those other good cards. Goat. Obviously, we have to hit the goat. He's the goat. That's why you hit it. I don't think we're going to. I think that goat is actually more than fair. Certain Amethyst decks don't even play goat anymore. Not to say he won't find his way back, especially if other cards are going away. I think goat is very good. I think goat's strong. And I think we're going to move goat into the not yet category. At some point, I could absolutely see goat getting hit. However, right now is not some point. Merlin Rabbit, however, on field, leaving the field, drawing all these cards, bouncing it to draw. Honestly, I think Rabbit goes. I really do. I think it's not quite at the level of Bucky, but I think Rabbit's better than Hiram. Absolutely. Maybe Rabbit's not in that top deck anymore like Hiram is, but like Ruby Amethyst, think about that. If you take Rabbit out of Ruby Amethyst, the deck was already really strong and fair, arguably. Most of us would argue it, I guess. But if you take away Rabbit, like realistically, that deck doesn't scare you nearly as much. It's still very, very oppressive. It's still very, very strong. But I think if you ban Rabbit, it makes a lot of sense, and it really tones down the drawing of the Amethyst deck, especially alongside of friends going to 2. Like realistically, what reason do we do ban lists, right? For people not familiar with TCGs, why have a ban list? Why have set rotation? Why have these things? Oh, it's to balance the format. It's to make sure decks don't run away with things, right? No, it's about selling new product. If the old decks are too good, if the old decks are still relevant, if the old decks are just to the point like, why would I get stuff new? Like, I don't need new cards. This deck still works great. You know, it's a business. Businesses need money. And as much as nobody wants to admit it, That is why we have ban lists. It's a business decision. So that is why we are guaranteed to have one. And I mean, in addition to the fact that the rule book says it, but yeah, Rabbit's going to be our second banned card in this video. Prince John, drawing when they discard. As good as that sounds, Diablo kind of knocked him out because Ursula and Diablo are better 3-drops, and then so are other things such as your Aladdin or I'm trying to think, like a Fox even. Like it's hard to say. Like Prince John's good. I don't think it's going to get touched at all, at least not yet. Maybe in the future, but even then, I'm really not sure that Prince John is truly ban-worthy. Maybe to 2, a consistency hit, if they do this. I really hope they do this. Oh, did I just lose you guys? How did we go? Sorry about that. Make sure we're all squared up again. Don't scroll on your mouse, John. Don't scroll on your mouse. The next 2 we are going to group together. Lady Tremaine and Madame Medusa. I'm gonna put them in the not yets. Again, not yet being they're strong, but they're not broken, and they're not really consistency hits either. Especially because they're kind of cards that just get played at 2 or 3 anyway, or potentially 1. Some decks play no Tremaine right now. Like, I don't know. Are they ever truly even ban worthy? Tremaine, I don't think is. Medusa, maybe. I really don't see Tremaine getting hit ever. Scar. This is another one. Is it not yet, or is it no change? So many of these cards in no change might get hit in the future. That's why they made their way into this video, because they're good enough, right? That's why they're in this video, because they're good enough. We're getting close to that becoming a new line, so I'm going to move me over to this side. That way we can see it when we drop down. Cogsworth. I shouldn't need to say it. There's no change. Cogsworth isn't getting touched. We all know that. There's no reason for it, right? Let's go with a couple Sapphire cards. Sad Beast. Consistency hit, guys. As you can see here, draw. Really strong, but Maui to 1, just no. Not yet, at least. No. Maui to 2. Consistency hit doesn't mean they have to be draw cards, even though 4 out of 5 so far are. They can also be big beater cards. Sad Beast actually doubles up as both of those. Let the Storm Rage on. I don't think that card's ever going to get hit. So Let the Storm Rage on. Dealing 2, drawing a card doesn't seem too impactful, especially for an uninkable card. We're going to mention her another time. Ursula, Deceiver of All. Deal 2, draw 1, deal 2, draw 1 is insanely good. It feels so bad knowing when your opponent's going to do it to you, and there's nothing you can do about it. It just feels really, really bad. Despite that, though, I don't think Let the Storm Rage On is worth hitting or touching. We already mentioned her 3 times now, so let's go ahead and talk about Ursula, Deceiver of All. Is she OP? Yeah, honestly she is. Unless you don't have songs in your hand, then she feels really lackluster. Is she ban-worthy? She makes cards like Friends, Sudden Chill, Let the Storm Rage On, and who knows what else in the future really just broken. So obviously this is the problem card. And I do think she gets banned. Just not yet. Eventually I do see this card getting banned. Right now though, hit her to 2, you see her less often, you still have to see her with your songs too, so keep that in mind. And certain songs like Sudden Chill, you want to see them both together early. If you don't see them both early, it's probably not going to be the greatest. Something like Friends or Storm, obviously late game, draw 4 and deal 4, draw 2, both still very strong. However, I don't think that Ursula is going to get touched anytime soon, other than to 2. If they do that, please do that. Ravensburger, Lorcana, whoever the powers be, if you're watching this, please do that. Ban limited, semi-limited. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Consistency hits, OP but needed, banned. OP. Very simple, straightforward. And it's, I guess, subjective. But that's not here nor there for now. Bare Necessities. I was so torn on this card. On one hand, a lot of time it's a 3 of, not necessarily 4 of. Seeing your opponent's hand and hitting locations, hitting songs, hitting items is so good. But is there a reason to hit it yet? Especially for outside of Friends, we haven't touched any of those types of cards yet. We're also hitting Ursula, so the double singing isn't as good. Do I think this card needs to get hit? I really, really feel like it should go to 2. However, this isn't necessarily what needs to happen, although for the most part it is. Would I put it to 2? Personally, I probably would and just be done with it. I think it's going to go to 2 at some point, if they do that. Last time I'm saying that, I swear. But put Bare Necessities to 2. It makes a lot of sense. It's a card that you want to see. It's pretty good, but as the game goes on, it's not as good. However, for this first ban list, I'm going to put it in the not yet category. Again, at some point, absolutely. For now, not quite. Queen's Castle, the first location on our list. Where they messed up with this card is it's 1 cost to move here. That is insane. The 7 willpower for 4 costs, it's a bit low, right? But it's 1 cost to move here. Even if it was 2, that would be a huge difference. Despite that, we're going to move it to not yet. If this was 2 costs to move here and it only got you 1 lore each turn, but it still had the draw effect, I think it would be really balanced. I think it would be actually maybe not quite as good. What if you leave the 2, make it 2 or 3 to move there, and all of a sudden it's a really good card. It's essentially mana, but with the potential to draw and a couple less willpower. Ursula Deceiver. So being able to see your opponent's hand. Kind of like Bare Necessities, right? So these 2 cards kind of go hand in hand, should be played together, right? But it's not a song. It can't just be sang. It can get bounced and replayed, however. So there's that helps it out a lot. But it also cannot hit locations or items. It can only hit songs. I don't think this card is going to get hit anytime in the foreseeable future, nor do I think it is needed to be hit. We're making our way through pretty good. In a little bit here, we're going to have a run on set 4 cards. But for right now, we got actually 3 set 3 cards to go over. Lucky Dime. Where do we put Lucky Dime? I already kind of, dropped the ball and said Hiram was the only Sapphire card we're going to hit. I don't think Lucky Dime needs to get hit ever. It's a 7 cost. You have to exert it and pay 2. And sure, you're going to be gaining 3 or 4, ideally, when you get these big characters down. But at the same time, you're paying for it. And at that point, I feel like it's a really strong card, but I don't think that this card is worth hitting. Robin Hood, Champion of Sherwood. Lucky we have Medusa because she deals with him so cleanly, but a 3/6 replaces himself when he leaves the field in the form of drawing a card, gains lore for challenging, especially when coupled with something like Rapunzel, is very, very strong. I could see this card actually getting hit right off the bat. However, I'm going to leave him in the not yet category. Kind of like Bare Necessities. Absolutely could get hit here, but I don't think it's going to. Zeus. Then along came Zeus, dealing 5 in the form of a song. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I think it's closer to being a not ever hit than it is a not yet hit. Yes, it's very strong. Yes, it's a song. Yes, it's a 4 cost. But it's also almost needed. We can't just hit all these really good cards, right? You can't just hit every single card because you still want other things to be playable. There still has to be a checks and balances. Be prepared. We can't ban Be Prepared because what about the go wide decks? Sure, you have something like Sisu on top of that, but at the same time, you can't just outright ban these things and let other things run rampant. While we're talking about Be Prepared, I'm going to put it as our first limited card. It is OP. It is ban worthy. It is everything of the sense. It's probably one of the first cards everybody said this card needs to be banned. What about hyper aggro decks? Well, they beat you before you Be Prepared. Okay, that's a very fair counterpoint. Maybe that's the reason it gets banned instead, because the decks it's needed most against win before that point. I still think that, it's needed. If there's not a board wipe in the game, if there's no threat of losing everything, against Ruby, why not go wide? Because of things like Scar, Tremaine, Medusa, Maui. I guess, but truly, are those things enough to scare you off? They can all die. They all lose to challenging eventually. Scar being the biggest threat because it can just keep readying himself again, kind of like the one Captain Hook. But without the threat of a Be Prepared. Sure, it's a one-off. So it's like they probably don't have it. What if they do, though? What do I do if they have the Be Prepared? What if they draw the Be Prepared? It's just one of those things that is, in my opinion, needed in the game to balance it out and to make things fair. We're going to talk about a couple set 4 cards here now. Ursula, the Sea Witch Queen. No one else can exert to sing songs. Really good. 4/7, quest for 3. And when she quests, you can exert a character. I could see that being hit at some point. Not anytime soon, but at some point. In the future, to consistency hit, knock her down a bit. I don't know if I would call her quite ban-worthy. Diablo, on the other hand, absolutely is ban-worthy. This card will join these two up here at one point. But if our first ban list comes out before set 5, I don't see that hitting any set 4 cards, period. I just don't see it happening. We're going to get cards for at least 2 to 3 sets before they hit them, unless they are insanely broken. Diablo kind of falls into that category. But it's because of this little guy. If not for Bucky, Diablo does not need to get touched at all. And I don't think it will be. Again, I don't think anything in set 4 will get touched. I don't think anything in set 3 will get outright banned. But a couple of them I do see getting knocked down. Like I said, the Ursula absolutely, I think, gets put to 2. But even outside of her, I think this list is mostly going to focus on first chapter and Floodborn cards. Because, like I said, it's not necessarily about balancing the game. It is about business decisions, and banning cards so close to them coming out is not a good business decision. We already showed her. Sisu, again, this is one of those cards too where I don't think she's ever ban-worthy, but kind of like Be Prepared, limited. Absolutely at some point. But like Ursula and Diablo, that point is not right now. A Whole New World. So we're going to have our third ban card. Except I don't think we are. I think this card is closer to Be Prepared in the fact that, like, discard. What happens against discard, like, if you can't refill your hand? We're hitting Sad Beast already. Sure, there's other ways to draw. Sure, you have outs to their engine. And yes, we're hitting Bucky, which is a huge hit to discard. But in set 3, we also saw Emerald Steel not playing Bucky for the majority of the format and still being a discard deck. It's all these 3-cost Floodborns that bring Bucky right back into the format. I think Whole New World and the threat of it is another reason that you just have to play differently. And sometimes, yes, you have to play as if they don't have it, do what you have to do, and just hope for the best. But other times, especially if you know they have it, well, now you need to kind of change up how you're playing. You cannot just get super greedy. I think this card is, like I said, just like Be Prepared, absolutely ban-worthy. People called for it, but I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't think it should. Like I said, personally, I think that it should go to 1. Ariel. Where do we put Ariel? Searching out a song, sort of. I guess more tutoring if it's in the top 4. I don't think she's worth hitting. Yes, she can search songs. Again, not search songs, but, you know, we all know how she works. I don't think that it's worth banning. I don't think it's worth touching. I don't think it's a great consistency hit. Absolutely, it's a great consistency hit. But, you know, like, okay. So, what about Steel Song, right? Sad Beast is already not necessarily played. In Steel Song, it is, but it isn't. It's like 70% roughly. Whole New World, however, is a 4 of. That goes to 1. Sad Beast almost becomes mandatory, but now it's a 2 of. If you also hit Ariel, the deck is just... I don't like doing that to decks. I want to see decks continue to be able to play and adapt. I don't think there's any reason to hit Ariel. Grab Your Swords. I'm going to put that in a not yet category. Sure, Grab Your Swords eventually could be hit. But, again, I'm going to move me out of the way. I'm trying to keep it so you guys can see all the cards the whole time. Last time I'm going to have to move myself. Grab Your Swords. Sure, it could get hit. But at the same time, it's needed. So, well, that means it goes here. No, it's not ban-worthy good. So that means it goes here. No, not necessarily. I don't think Swords is going to get hit. I don't think it needs to get hit. Often, it's played at 1 or 2 anyway. So there really is no reason to hit it. Well, then they can play it at more. Yes, they can. But especially if Bucky gets hit, I don't think anyone's going to. Jafar. We hit Friends. We hit Whole New World. I don't think we need to hit Jafar. There's the last second star to the left. There's going to be other draw cards. There's other great things that Jafar can just do. However, I don't think he's worth hitting. Again, I'm not really going after set 3 because, again, I expect us to be able to play like cards for at least 2 sets. And I don't expect to ban list every set. Maybe we do. Maybe it's 6 months to start. Every 3 months, I feel like, is a lot this early in the game. Personally, if they give us one before set 5, and then as long as there's nothing super crazy broken that comes out, set 8, like once a year. Give us once a year this first time maybe. Or again, like I said, maybe in 6 months. So before set 7. At a minimum though, I don't want a second ban list before set 7 unless something absolutely toxic takes over. But I don't think that's going to happen. I want to think that they're smart enough to think about that ahead of time. We have one card left. The last card that we are going to talk about is, can you guess it? You probably saw it already. Maybe you didn't. Madam Mim Fox. How good is Fox? Kind of in that category of Maui. I'm going to put Mim Fox in the semi-consistent. I don't think we can just get rid of the good rush characters because, again, you need to have these cards to keep decks in check. If not for like rush and board wipes, what's there to stop everyone from playing aggro? Well, you have Rafiki, you have Pan's Shadow, you have these other cards, and a lot of them are uninkable. We need inkable rush cards. Queen of Hearts, okay. But at the same time, like, you need these more powerful ones, right? Especially like with big locations and things like that. There has to be that option, that threat, that worry, that do they have it aspect. And I don't think either one of those cards are ban worthy. However, hitting them both, because Fox and Maui at 4, like if you see them have 2 Fox in their hand, it is so strong because all of a sudden they Fox into something, and then they Fox bounce Fox. Fox into something, Fox bounce Fox. And they just recycle them over and over. It can be devastating. I don't think Fox really should be at more than 2. I don't. I think that if we do this, so this is it, by the way. This is all the cards. That's it, right? 40 of them. But we're only truly hitting, 12? I think 3, 6, 7, 11. We're only truly hitting 11 cards. Bucky to 0 again. Bucky and Rabbit. I don't think anyone can argue that either of these cards isn't necessarily ban worthy, right? They're both good enough to be banned. Be Prepared and Whole New World. Again, both good enough to be banned, but at the same time, tell me I'm wrong that they serve a necessary evil purpose. Is that a good way to look at it? I don't know. But personally, I think that these cards should not get banned. Just trying to... Okay, never mind. Checking my list, making sure I didn't forget something. So I swore I had 12 hits total. On my initial list, I did have Bare Necessities in the semi-hits. But again, the more I thought about it, putting the video together, getting the images, it's like, I really don't think Bare Necessities is worth hitting right now. But what does this do? I don't think this kills any deck, period. I mean, Lucky Discard's dead, let's be honest. But Emerald Steel Discard isn't. I think that this tones certain things down, spreads it out, makes the game a little more enjoyable, or I'd like to think it would, while also helping to promote new product and say, oh, there's a lot of good decks right now, but there's no truly dominant deck. Let's try these new cards. Let's try these new strategies. And as a business, that's something they're going to think about it. So thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, you've seen the thing scrolling at the bottom of the video. We have our Ursula Deceiver of All giveaway for 4 copies on Patreon going up at the end of the month. We are almost there. Only a few more days left. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, like, share, subscribe. 3 steps. Comment down below. 4th step. I lied. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.